Hello, this is Melanie Gorelnik, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the July 28th issue of the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The first story is Halton Cops Lay 85 Charges in Human Trafficking Bust by Gordon Anderson. Thanks to the courageous act of one woman, police say 9 individuals were arrested and charged with multiple heinous crimes. Quote, in September of 2025, a strong and brave woman came forward to us as a survivor of exploitation, Halton Regional Police Service Superintendent David Constantini said on Tuesday morning in Oakville. This resulted in an investigation into the alleged incident that had been taking place across the Greater Toronto Area. Thanks to her incredible courage, what ensued was a 10-month investigation that uncovered an additional 11 victims who were allegedly subjected to commercial sexual exploitation over an extended period of time. Termed Project Troubadour, Halton Cops busted the largest human trafficking ring in the history of the service. Quote, I can't tell you what motivated her to come forward, but we are appreciative she did, Detective Scott Hireman said. Her actions will protect other women in the future. Hireman said the woman in question had allegedly been trafficked about 15 years and linked to one of the accused, Omar Brooks. To protect the identity and safety of every woman involved, a publication ban is in place. Wiretaps and surveillance were used to identify and arrest individuals believed to be involved. Not including Halton, 8 additional police services across the GTA were part of the project. On July 13, the Halton Human Trafficking Unit executed search warrants at 10 residences, 5 in Halton Region, 4 in Peel Region, and 1 in Toronto. Quote, what fueled and targeted disruption of this group is our shared commitment to pursuing criminals relentlessly as they pursued their victims, Halton Police Deputy Police Chief Jeff Hill said. We hope this marks a new beginning for the women who endured unimaginable pain. I want them and every person who is or has experienced such suffering to know you do not have to go through this alone. We will support and advocate for you every step of the way. Seized items estimated value at $1 million. Cars, watercraft, electronic devices, drugs, and jewelry were also confiscated in the seizure. Hireman estimates the total value of the goods seized at close to $1 million. The individuals arrested and charged include Omar Brooks, 40, of Burlington, Christian Collins, 31, of Milton, Michelle DeMarco, 33, of Burlington, Nicholas Bennett, 32, of Mississauga, Merlin Brooks, 74, of Burlington, Melinda Brooks, 45, of Burlington, Militia Brooks, 45, of Burlington, Jonathan Green, 40, of Toronto, and Jadis Brooks Reynolds, 26, of Mississauga. Omar Brooks was charged with 34 offenses alone. In total, 85 criminal charges were laid. Some of the charges include trafficking in persons, procuring illicit sexual intercourse, assault with a weapon, laundering proceeds of crime, receiving material benefit from sexual services, and advertising sexual services. This is just the tip of the iceberg, Constantini said, noting that police continue to further investigate the depth and breadth of this network. We believe that there are additional victims, Hireman said. The age of these women ranges from 18 to 34 years of age. The police would not divulge specifics as to where the women are specifically from. The women were also trafficked across Canada, not just the GTA. Hireman wouldn't go into any detail about how these women were allegedly sold for sexual services, but he did include one detail. Quote, "It is quite common to use various websites in the main way, or advertisements are sent out to. I am not going to glorify the actual website, but there are websites where ads are being posted for sexual purposes across the country," he said. Police expect further charges to be laid in this case. This investigation demonstrates that human trafficking knows no borders and knows no boundaries, Hill said. And while the scope of these crimes reaches far beyond our region's borders, some of these offenders were operating and living here in Halton. Anyone with information, or anyone who has been victimized by any of the accused, is asked to contact the Human Trafficking Unit at 905-825-4747, extension 5241, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. There is a picture of 4 of the seized vehicles. They're all white. One is a Lamborghini Urus. Another is a Mercedes-Benz AMG GT Turbo. Another is a Mercedes-Benz S550 and a Sea-Doo GTR. Photos courtesy of Halton Regional Police Service. There is also a picture of each of the suspects arrested. I won't bother to go into what they look like, but it seems like they have a very defiant expression. Photo courtesy of Handout by Halton Regional Police. That story is Halton Cops Lay 85 Charges in Human Trafficking Bust by Gordon Anderson. The next story is Trump mocks Canada's handling of wildfires with massive air filter along border by Danette Wilford. Donald Trump is trolling Canada about its wildfires once again. The American president shared a post on his Truth Social account over the weekend, deriding how Canada's management of the ongoing blazes. The post comes amid his criticism of Canada's handling of the wildfires, but also his proposal to add pollution-related costs to tariffs on Canadian imports. Trump, 80, posted an AI-generated image of a massive filter along a border wall between Canada and the United States, alongside a sign that reads, quote, "North America Air Filter Barrier. Clean air, clean borders." A Canadian flag appears on the left, and an American flag sits on the right side of the giant air filter barrier that is labeled, quote, MERV-16 High Efficiency Particulate Air Filter. Trump's post comes weeks after smoke from Canadian wildfires began drifting south and blanketing the air in many U.S. cities. Certain U.S. regions, including the Great Lakes, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic, were also impacted by the fires, with more than 100 million people exposed to dangerous air quality as the smoke continued to head south, CNN reported. 4 Republican members of the U.S. Congress accused Canadian officials of not doing enough to prevent wildfires and failing to address the underlying causes of worsening blazes. Quote, "Our constituents in Michigan are once again under air quality alerts. Our hospitals are once again treating children, dialysis patients, and older residents for the effects of smoke that did not originate anywhere near them," the lawmakers said in a letter addressed to Prime Minister Mark Carney. Quote, "We were told the causes, chronic underinvestment in forest thinning, fuel reduction, and prescribed burns, along with inadequate enforcement against arson, were being addressed. They were not, or not adequately enough to matter to the people we represent," they wrote. Willful negligence. The dangerously unhealthy levels from the smoke has become an increasing bone of contention for Trump, who told reporters on Friday that Canada needs to halt the fires or face even greater trade tariffs. In a previous Truth Social post, Trump slammed Canada's handling of the wildfires, calling it, quote, "willful negligence." He wrote on July 17, quote, "We are holding Canada responsible for the fact that they are not properly maintaining their forests and brush therein, and the United States is being unnecessarily invaded by filthy, polluted, and unhealthy air." Trump added, "This is willful negligence, and becoming a yearly occurrence, costing the United States billions of dollars, all caps, which cost of this population must of necessity be added to the tariffs Canada is currently paying." I don't know about that grammar. Ford fires back. While Carney has said Canada is doing everything possible to get the wildfires out of control, a disappointed Ontario Premier Doug Ford blasted Trump's latest tariff threat. Quote, "Our message to President Trump is that if he actually does his due diligence, one of the largest fires started from Minnesota," Ford said last week. That's not a knock against Minnesota, because Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and I have an incredible relationship. There are 894 active wildfires burning in Canada as of Tuesday, including 12 new fires, according to the Government of Canada's website, with 117 of those burning in northwestern Ontario, per the province's Ministry of Natural Resources. There is a picture of the AI image that Trump posted to Truth Social, and the filter that looks like a wall actually looks like an air filter you'd have in your car, and it goes on forever, and there's these blue skies and clouds in the air, so clearly, I guess it's doing its job, it's cleaning the air. And you see United States on one side with the flag and Canada on the other with its flag, and then you see a lake under the word Canada. Photo by Donald Trump via Truth Social. That story was Trump mocks Canada's handling of wildfires with massive air filter along border, by Danette Wilford. The next story is Rogers Stadium noise complaints declining, Live Nation says, by Jane Stevenson. Halfway through its second summer season of concerts, Rogers Stadium says it continues to work with the City of Toronto and area residents on any noise issues. Quote, "Noise management has been an important part of that collaborative work," said a Live Nation spokesperson during a mid-season technical briefing on Zoom with journalists Tuesday morning. "We cover the cost of noise monitoring, which includes several teams of municipal bylaw officers, measuring sound levels from our property lines and responding to calls around the area. And our preseason adjustments have proven to be effective in reducing the levels in off-site sound, also resulting in a decrease in complaints from the beginning of the second season until now." In late June, Councillor James Pasternak was asking to direct staff to work with Live Nation to hire a third-party acoustics engineer firm, or a sound expert, who would review the layout of the stadium and identify any capital improvements or acoustical enhancements and technologies that will mitigate sound dispersal, including bass, into the neighboring communities. Pasternak, who represents the Downsview Park area where Rogers Stadium is located, also wanted Live Nation to consider building more noise barriers around the stadium and installing stationary noise monitors at locations where there have been complaints. Quote, "We are working very closely with the councillor and the city manager's department to comply with all the new motions that were passed, which do include reviewing our plans to date and some additional mitigating factors that we can possibly enact, and reviewing all the engineering plans we've already completed to date," the spokesperson said. Before this year's concerts, Live Nation installed vinyl cladding on the backs of grandstands to manage the noise following complaints last year. Stadium's operations continue to be refined. With 10 of 20 shows so far at the venue, 5 of which were sold-out concerts by second season opener Bruno Mars, Live Nation said it has continued to refine our operations with each event. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. More than 428,000 fans on site during first half of the season. In the first half of this season, the stadium welcomed more than 428,000 fans, which they say is about twice the number of ticket holders who attended FIFA World Cup games in Toronto. Quote, "Transit continues to be the best way to get to and from Rogers Stadium," the Live Nation spokesperson said. More than half of our concert goers are choosing public transit, which has helped reduce congestion in and around the venue. Additional subways and buses on concert nights have made a meaningful difference in keeping people moving after the show. Last year, it was an hour to just over an hour to get people out of here, and this year, even at our peak periods, when we've seen our sellout crowds, it's taken no longer than 45 minutes. In terms of sustainability, Rogers Stadium expects to recover 10,000 meals this season, ensuring surplus food is put to good use rather than going to waste. BTS concert in August. As far as accommodating enthusiastic BTS fans, when the K-pop act plays Rogers Stadium on August 22 and 23rd, more seats have been added, but early and overnight queuing will not be permitted. We will, however, open the site early to accommodate excited fans. The stadium will also host a dedicated pre-show merchandise shopping day on August 21, giving fans the chance to purchase merchandise before the event day and avoid longer lineups. There will also be more merchandise stands on show days on the site, plus Instagram-able moments and activations unique to BTS. And the stage will be in the center of the floor for an in-the-round experience. There is a picture of Bruno Mars performing at the Rogers Stadium, and he's wearing all red head to toe. He's got like a curly, dark brown pompadour. He's holding a microphone with his hand, and it's held up to his mouth. And he's wearing a red shirt, red pants, a belt that has a huge gold belt buckle, and a gold necklace, and a red and gold jacket. And you could see a few men behind him that are playing some kind of instrument, but they're hidden kind of behind him. Photo courtesy of Daniel Raymonds. There is also a picture of Rogers Stadium at the former Downsview Airport lands just north of Toronto. And you could see the big black building that says Rogers Stadium in red. And the parking lot is just filled with people. I'm not sure if they're coming or going. Photo courtesy of Live Nation Canada. That story was Rogers Stadium noise complaints declining, Live Nation says, by Jane Stevenson. The next story is Grieving Ontario Family Wants Answers, including name of Brampton driver in crash that killed 5 kids, by Michelle Mandel. They still don't even know the name of the Brampton driver who allegedly ran a stop sign and slammed into their van, killing their 5 children. It's been more than 6 weeks since the deadly crash at the intersection of 4th Line and Wellington Road 12 in Mapleton Township, which claimed the lives of 5 Dorcasson siblings: Susie, 4, Maggie, 6, Sarah, 8, Helena, 10, and Peter, 12. Their parents, their 15-month-old brother, and friends Peter and Elizabeth Barch sustained serious injuries. Driver of SUV dead 1 week later. The driver of the SUV died a week later in hospital, but all we know is that he was 42 and from Brampton. They expect that information and much more once the OPP investigation concludes. But in the meantime, the Dorksons have hired a Windsor law firm to get some immediate answers. including the identity of the driver they claim ran a stop sign. Quote, "Our clients had the right of way. They were on a road with no traffic controls. The driver that collided with them had a stop sign, failed to stop, and collided with the rear of the passenger van that my clients were traveling in. And unfortunately, that's where the 5 siblings who were tragically killed were seated," alleged Joanna Sweet, managing partner at Greg Monforton and Partners. Quote, "Someone may know something or may have seen something, and we want to know everything about the circumstances leading up to this collision, so we're hoping anyone with information will reach out." The Dorksons and the Barch couple had gone to visit church members who recently had a baby and were on their way home at about 7:30 p.m. on June 12, when the collision occurred at the rural intersection northwest of Kitchener-Waterloo. Speculation about seatbelts. There has been much speculation online about whether the children were properly restrained in the multi-passenger van. Quote, "We have no information that the children were not wearing their seatbelts," the lawyer said. The 15-month-old baby was properly in his car seat and unfortunately had a broken leg. Judith Dorkson had to miss the funerals for her 5 babies as she remained in hospital recovering from a broken pelvic bone, fractured ribs, and injuries to her kidney, liver, and gallbladder. The mom and the 4 other survivors have now all been released from hospital, and the GoFundMe started by the Dorksons' daughter Nancy, the second oldest of their 12 children, has been closed after raising more than $366,000. Quote, "My family is living through a tragedy that no one should ever have to face," she wrote on the fundraising page with her wedding photo that included her 5 younger siblings who were killed. Devastating accident. In a devastating accident, we lost 5 precious children who were deeply loved by all of us. The heartbreak and grief are beyond words, and our family is trying to navigate an unimaginable reality while supporting one another through this painful time. Her grieving parents have extended their gratitude to the community and first responders as they try to heal. As you can imagine, they're having a tough time. They're recovering at home, but it will be a very long haul, their lawyer said. There are just no words to describe how tragic it is. Lawsuit likely. Not surprisingly, a lawsuit is likely. "We're certainly not ruling that out," Sweet said. So, while a thorough police investigation takes a very long time, the law firm will be gathering its own information in the meantime before memories fade and videos get recorded over. Quote, "The family had 5 children taken, and our information is that the van was driving properly and in no way did the driver's actions contribute to this collision in any way. It's expensive to be injured. Survivors will need treatment down the road, so a lawsuit is something they may need to consider," she said. So many questions remain unanswered in this horrific crash. Was the driver impaired? Distracted? Was there a medical incident? Was the stop sign too small? And what can be done to ensure this doesn't happen again? There is a picture of the family that was used on the GoFundMe. It was taken at that wedding, and there are 15 family members posing in front of a wall together. And there are very big red arrows pointing at the children who died. And they're wearing their beautiful gowns for the wedding, and then there's an older boy in a tuxedo. Photo courtesy of GoFundMe. That story was Grieving Ontario Family Wants Answers, including name of Brampton driver in crash that killed 5 kids, by Michelle Mandel. The next story is Fans Think Justin Baldoni's Wife Shaded Blake Lively in Anniversary Post, by Mark Danielle. Justin Baldoni's wife Emily seemingly made a dig at Blake Lively as she celebrated her wedding anniversary with her husband this week. Quote, marriage, still my favorite lift. Smiling emoji with a wink. 13, baby. Emily captioned a black and white photo from the couple's nuptials. Many followers interpreted the remark as a swipe at Lively's allegation that Baldoni criticized her weight before filming their 2024 drama, It Ends With Us. He said that he was asking about her weight in connection with the scripted lift scene, suggesting that he needed to know Ms. Lively's weight to determine whether he could perform the lift. Lively's longtime fitness trainer Don Saladino claimed in court docs obtained by Us Weekly. Saladino said Baldoni's inquiry made him very uncomfortable. Quote, I have never experienced someone reaching out to me about a client's weight, Saladino claimed. I felt that Mr. Baldoni's explanation for his question was dishonest, given that based on my understanding of Mr. Baldoni's workout regimen, he would be easily able to perform a lift in a range that would include Miss Lively. Posts send social media into a tizzy. In the comments on Emily's social media post, many of her followers suggested her use of lift was meant to be a slight against Lively. Quote, I bet you this lift did not hurt his back, one fan quipped, with another adding, the lift, and then there's a peach emoji, perfect clapback. She's a savage, wrote a third commenter. Several others suggested the comment showed Lively was living rent-free in Emily's head. Quote, good gravy. Can't resist a little shade throwing on your anniversary, no less. Yes, you guys are clearly the victims, one person added. But one friend of the couple insisted that Emily wasn't intending to diss Lively. Quote, the funniest part about this whole fire emoji is that it's happening entirely in people's heads. Crying laughing emoji. Artist Maya Carls replied, according to Us Weekly. I know Emily. She would rather disappear into the woods than throw shade on social media. In his own celebratory social media post, Baldoni shared a photo of the two on the dance floor, writing, 13 years later, ... we're still dancing. Baldoni breaks his silence. Joined by his wife, Baldoni opened up on the, quote, injustice and trauma the two faced after Lively accused the actor and director of sexual harassment. Quote, we have not spoken publicly for the better part of the last 2 years, and it's not because we haven't had anything to say, because Lord knows we have. The Jane the Virgin alum, who shares daughter Maya, 11, and son Maxwell, 8, with Emily, said in a video posted to Instagram earlier this month. Quote, but it just felt like every time we went to make a video like this, we wanted to speak. Something was telling us not to. It just didn't feel like the right time, and we were talking about it and feeling into it and praying about it. After the pair settled their dueling lawsuits in May, Emily said that she and her husband, who married in 2013, had so much to say. Quote, it makes it hard to figure out what is right for this specific moment, she said. But what does feel important is that we can genuinely say that we are sitting here today feeling immense gratitude for so many things and so many people. Gratitude has saved us, Baldoni added. But the legal drama between the pair is far from over. Lively is still requesting $8 million in legal fees from Baldoni, an amount he says is excessive. There is an undated picture of Justin Baldoni and his wife Emily, and it looks like a phone picture, and it's just a kind of a head and shoulders picture. Justin's on the left. He's wearing just a gray t-shirt. He's got brown eyes and brown curly hair, and he's holding his hand over his chest. And his wife Emily is next to him with just a very slight smile. She's got long blonde hair and brown eyes. Photo courtesy of Justin Baldoni via Instagram. That story was fans think Justin Baldoni's wife shaded Blake Lively in anniversary post by Mark Danielle. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The next story is Diaries Seem to Show Anthony Fauci More Interested in Fame Than Facts by Brian Lilly. If only Anthony Fauci had cared as much about facts during the COVID-19 pandemic as he did about his fame. The release of his diaries should embarrass him and remind us that many of the people pushing lockdowns and restrictions were deeply flawed. Fauci's diaries document his obsession with the media and fame, his conflicting positions on the lab leak theory for the virus, and his disastrous dismissal of the Great Barrington Declaration. From expert to celebrity. In the early days of the pandemic, Fauci served as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and a medical advisor to the president. While his main role should have been providing serious medical advice, clearly he relished his growing celebrity status. Dinners with CNN's Jake Tapper, requests for vaccine advice from Barbara Streisand, Julia Roberts fangirling over him during an online chat. Fauci documented each and every media appearance across the United States and around the world, including many Canadian interviews with the likes of CBC News and Global. Quote, "The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable," he wrote in May 2020. "It is not without hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country, and one of the most recognizable people in the world." Too bad he didn't pay as much attention to his job of assessing the medical evidence and providing sound advice to elected officials. The lab leak dismissal. Fauci spent a lot of time, energy, and political capital in the early days of the pandemic, trying to undermine the idea that the virus had leaked out of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He maintained the virus emerged naturally and worked to discredit those advancing the lab leak theory, now considered a most likely explanation by officials, including a U.S. House committee panel. Quote, "Now we know the market was not the source, it was the amplifier. Having said that, somewhere the virus jumped from animals to humans," Fauci wrote in his diary on January 26, 2020. A few days later, on February 1, 2020, Fauci convened a call with other leading public health officials and scientists to discuss the issue of the virus's origin. He described how there was not a consensus, with some arguing that the virus originated naturally. Quote, "The rest felt that deliberate insertion was possible, and given the fact that Dr. Zhang Lishi at the University of Wuhan has been working for years in GOF in coronaviruses. GOF, short for gain of function, involves altering an organism's genetic makeup to enhance specific traits. Fauci has always denied that organizations he oversaw funded gain-of-function research, but the evidence would appear to show that is exactly what happened. When he wasn't smearing those who raised the lab leak theory, Fauci was dismissing those who offered alternative ideas on how to deal with the virus. The stooges who were right. In October 2020, three well-regarded scientists and infectious disease specialists, Jay Bhattacharya from Stanford, Sunetra Gupta from Oxford, and Martin Kulldorff from Harvard, issued the Great Barrington Declaration. The declaration argued that COVID-19 posed limited risk to most people and that lockdowns were causing harm. Rather than impose society-wide restrictions, the authors advocated focused protection for the vulnerable and herd immunity among low-risk groups. Fauci dismissed the three scientists as, quote, stooges in his diary. The declaration ultimately proved more prescient than Fauci. One of those, quote, stooges, Bhattacharya, is now director of the U.S. National Institutes of Health. Fauci is set to appear before a Senate committee in Washington on Wednesday, and he should face tough questions from committee members. Yet, much of the media still treats Fauci as a hero. The question raised by his diaries are likely to make many journalists nearly as uncomfortable as they make Fauci. That's too bad, because the media that made him a star, including our own, owe readers an apology for failing to ask the questions Fauci was already answering in his private diary. There is a picture of Dr. Anthony Fauci. He is an older-looking guy with white hair. He's wearing oval reading glasses, and he's speaking into a microphone. And there are people behind him that are kind of blurry in the picture. Photo courtesy of Chip Somadavilla via Getty Images. That story was Diaries Seem to Show Anthony Fauci More Interested in Fame Than Facts by Brian Lilly. The next story is North York Business, site of 2023 anti-Jewish protest, hit by gunfire by Jane Stevenson. Another Jewish-owned Toronto business has been hit by a shooting. Toronto police reported a firearm discharge at a business at Finch Avenue West and Weston Road in North York around 1:53 a.m. Tuesday. Cops said there were reports of gunshots heard in the area and that the business, reportedly identified as Inca's Armored Vehicle Manufacturing, was damaged. There were no reported injuries and no suspect description. Anyone with information should contact police at 416-808-2222. Andy Ellis, the chief security officer at Incas, told media at the scene Tuesday that the incident had shaken staff at the facility. Quote, "We are shocked. We are saddened. People are frightened," he said. But I think the Toronto police have done a great deal to mitigate that fear. Back in 2023, Incas was the site of a demonstration by those who alleged the company was arming the Israeli military. Ellis said Tuesday it doesn't confirm who its clients are, but we provide armored vehicles and equipment to countries around the world, from Fiji to Latin America, throughout Canada to the southern rip of Africa. I think they meant tip. We're everywhere. And we only provide vehicles to countries where our Global Affairs Department has obviously approved the export. So we do everything according to law, and according to ethics and morals too, because that becomes a big part of our decision making. The shooting comes after shots were fired at the U.S. consulate on Monday, for the second time in 4 months, and 2 locations of the same Jewish-owned bakery were hit by gunfire the day before. Police are seeking a white late-model Honda Accord with no license plates that was seen speeding away from the U.S. consulate in Toronto on Monday, just after 4:46 a.m. after a Toronto police officer taking part in the ongoing security detail heard a single gunshot. High-speed chase had to end due to dangers it posed. The vehicle was soon located by officers traveling eastbound along Gerrard Street East toward the Don Valley Parkway, prompting a high-speed pursuit, but the chase ended at Don Mills and the DVP due to dangers posted by the suspect's driving, which exceeded 140 kilometers per hour. Toronto police have already arrested 3 individuals after the March 10 attack against the consulate, including Sheldon Tracy Stewart, 18, and Zara Jabi, 19, who were arrested last month in connection with the shooting. A third suspect, 18-year-old Jayan Berger, was arrested by Halton police in March in connection with an unrelated shooting, but testing by investigators suggests one of the handguns used in that shooting allegedly matched one used in the consulate shooting. Meanwhile, two Jewish-owned bagel shops in Toronto were damaged Sunday, in incidents now under investigation by the Toronto Police Service's Hate Crime Unit. Two locations of Kiva's, a bakery specializing in bagels, were attacked Sunday morning, with one shop's window damaged by gunfire, police said. The second location in the city also had a window damaged, but investigators found no evidence of gunshots there. Quote, "At this time, investigators are examining whether the incidents are connected and working to identify those responsible," police said. There have been no reported injuries. The attacks upset local residents who said the bakeries are fixtures in the community and are places they visit every day. Quote, "We understand that this is concerning for those that work and live in this area, especially members of the Jewish community, and we have all the resources available to thoroughly investigate this matter," Duty Inspector Scott Bradbury told reporters Sunday. It's not yet known if Tuesday's shooting at Incas is connected to any other recent firearm discharges in the city. There's a picture of the Kiva's Bagel Bar that's at Yonge Street and St. Clair Avenue West. It's taken from across the street, and there is a police vehicle parked in front. There are multiple people standing outside, and you can't see if the window was damaged from this picture. Photo courtesy of the Toronto Sun. That story was North York Business, site of 2023 anti-Jewish protest hit by gunfire, by Jane Stevenson. The next story is Logo a No-Go, City's $140,000 baseball grant in rundown over branding, by Justin Holmes. That little green square is working like a big red light. The Annette Baseball Association says a city councilor is holding up a $140,000 grant from the Jays Care Foundation, which would pay for some much-needed improvements at a High Park ball diamond, because it would come with signs that include the boxy green logo of a sponsor, TD Bank. But Gord Perks, the soon-to-retire counselor for Parkdale High Park Ward, said that's not exactly right. He said when he was approached, he checked in with City Hall to see if the grant would conform to our policies, and the answer is no, it does not. Toronto could use the money, Perks said, but that doesn't mean a donor can demand all kinds of concessions. That's a matter of council policy, and the public service following the rules, not a matter of me intervening, Perks told the Toronto Sun. One sticking point. City Council just last month accepted a similar grant from the foundation, the charity arm of the Toronto Blue Jays, to improve a park in East York, approving a motion from local councillor Brad Bradford. The would-be grant recipients are frustrated that Perks doesn't have a similar motion for this week's meeting, the last of his long career as a Toronto City Councillor. Quote, "I'll be blunt with you. Some councillors like me believe that we should have uniform set rules that are fair and transparent, so people can understand what they can and can't do. And some councillors bend and break those rules to do favors," Perks said. "I don't think that it's right for politicians to hand out favors. If Councillor Bradford bent the rules," he added, "that's on him. That's not on me." Field in such a terrible state. Dan Condy is the vice president of the Annette Association. His group applied for the money to modernize the lighting at one of their regular diamonds, the Jack Wilson Field at High Park. That money wouldn't just get brighter, better LEDs above the field. They finally would get two hulking old light poles out of foul territory, so kids no longer have to dodge them during games while they field fly balls. a setup Condi called just ludicrous. Quote, Jack Wilson Field is in such a terrible state of disrepair, Condi said. Condi said it's just another case of Perks not going to bat for the Annette ball players. Hosting games at Jack Wilson is bad enough with cars largely banned from Hyde Park, he said, forcing bewildered out-of-town opponents to park far away and lug their equipment to the field. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Sun on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. But Perks says he wants the city to accept the grant, just without a donor logo involved. It's not just the lighting that needs upgrades there, Perks said. There's all kinds of issues. A Jays Care Foundation spokesman told The Sun there is absolutely no risk of the grant being revoked. Condi said it's his understanding that the grant can't be accepted without agreeing to display the logo at Hyde Park, although Perks said City Hall is trying to work something out. It's also not clear if rejecting the grant would mean the work won't happen, or if it still would, but with city taxpayers footing the bill. The City of Toronto said it wasn't able to say one way or the other in time for publication. Benefit the kids. In an emailed statement, Bradford said he had been happy to put forth his June motion, which had been drafted by city staff to accept $100,000 for improvements at Stan Wadlow Park. Quote, This investment will benefit the kids who play there every summer, and I, for one, appreciate having partners who want to join us in investing in our recreation facilities, he added. City Hall should look for ways to say yes to partnerships like this, not reasons to say no, because that's how we build stronger communities. While the next councillor for Parkdale High Park could potentially bring in a similar motion, Condi says he fears whoever wins the award in October's election may just stand on Perks' decision. Even if the next councillor approves of the grant, it would be likely months into the new council term, perhaps December or even 2027, before a motion can be put forward. Quote, The 140 grand is just going to be unclaimed, it seems, Condi said. Despite all the work that we've done, despite the lengthy interactions with city employees, and despite what is really, really needed at the park. There is a picture of Toronto City Councillor Gord Perks. He's at an executive committee meeting on March 19th, 2025, and he is standing up in a room full of people that are all sitting down and looking at their laptops. And Gord has a gray sweatshirt on. He's got salt and pepper gray hair, lots of it, and he's looking to the left. Photo courtesy of Jack Boland via the Toronto Sun. That story was Logo a No-Go, City's $140,000 baseball grant in Rundown Over Branding, by Justin Holmes. The next story is Arizona Man Accused of Murdering Girlfriend After Monopoly Game, by Jane Stevenson. Monopoly, then murder? That allegedly appears to have been the order of events for Kyle Collins, 37, of Mesa, Arizona, who faces charges of first-degree murder and kidnapping in the beating death of his girlfriend and mom of two, Sierra Tellez, 36. According to an arrest affidavit obtained by lawandcrime.com, it's alleged that Collins played the board game with Tellez and neighbors in their apartment complex's courtyard the night before and then killed her the next day with a metallic cane shaft, say police. There were brutal blows all over the victim's body that left her covered with bruises and gashes, including one to her forehead where the skull appeared to be visible, said the affidavit. Tellez was discovered naked and dead on July 21 inside the apartment she shares with Collins, cops said, after the accused called 911 himself and allegedly claimed that he came home from work and found her. Quote, "The witnesses, which are the neighbors, indicated the night prior they were playing board games with Kyle and Tellez in the courtyard in the complex, but nothing suspicious was observed," the affidavit alleges. An additional neighbor informed officers they observed them all playing board games the night prior as well. None of the witnesses observed any visible injuries or bruises on Tellez that they could recall during the game playing. Collins called police around 11 a.m. that Tuesday, and officers arrived to find blood all over the residence. Murder weapon was thought to be a metallic cane. A metallic cane shaft appeared to be a weapon used, was broken with blood and hair located on it, the affidavit said. Collins told police he left for work at approximately 9 a.m. and Tellez was perfectly fine, according to the affidavit, and then left work at 10:30 a.m. and returned home by 11 a.m., and allegedly told officers he arrived to their apartment front door unlocked. Detectives, however, got video surveillance from a neighboring apartment that allegedly showed the accused did not go to work, but was in and out of the apartment several times when he said he was working, said the affidavit. Police alleged that Kyle's mom spoke to his employer, saying her son needed a sick day after just finding out his girlfriend had cheated on him and needs some time to clear his head. Collins allegedly told investigators that he found out that morning that Tellez cheated on him last week with an unknown male, the affidavit said, and he went to a neighbor's apartment around 7 a.m. and told them he was mad at Tellez for cheating on him, police said. Collins also allegedly claimed Tellez told him she had been using fentanyl without his knowledge for the duration of their relationship, which spanned over a year. Collins, who had been sober and out of rehab for over 2 years, was upset and the couple fought. Kyle questioned Tellez on how she was paying for the drugs because he has access to see their joint bank account. Tellez stated that she was performing sex acts for the drugs. Quote, "The fight happened this morning," Collins alleged, according to police. When asked if there was a physical altercation, Collins allegedly said, "We had some words and I went out the door." That story was Arizona Man Accused of Murdering Girlfriend After Monopoly Game by Jane Stevenson. The next story is Average Canadian Family Paying $21,000 for a Free System, New Report Says, by Brian Passavium. Ottawa. While Canadians like boasting of their free health care, a new report shows hidden tax bills related to Canada's struggling medical system are climbing faster than household earnings. Released this week by the Fraser Institute, the study entitled The Price of Public Healthcare Insurance 2026 shows the average Canadian family of 4 earning an average household income of $202,885 will spend an estimated $21,115 in healthcare costs. Quote, "Canadians often misunderstand the true cost of our public healthcare system." Read an excerpt in the report, authored by Institute Fellows Nadim Esmail, Nathaniel Lee, and Milagros Palacios. This occurs partly because Canadians do not incur direct expenses for their use of healthcare, and partly because Canadians cannot readily determine the value of their contribution to public healthcare insurance. Canadians pay a substantial amount. Couples without kids will cough up an estimated $19,225, while single adults will pay around $6,464. Because Canada funds healthcare via general tax revenues rather than through direct billing or dedicated healthcare tax, the researchers say most Canadians have little idea of many of their tax dollars actually funding healthcare. Quote, Canadians pay a substantial amount of money for public health care through a variety of taxes, even if we don't pay directly for medical services, Esmail said. Healthcare costs have grown substantially. He argued that understanding the true cost of healthcare is important for taxpayers to determine if they're getting their money's worth from Canada's struggling healthcare system. Healthcare costs for Canadian families, the report said, have grown substantially over the past few decades. Between 1997 and 2026, public healthcare costs for average Canadian families has grown 2.3 times faster than food costs, 1.5 times faster than the cost of housing, and 1.7 times faster than the growth of average incomes. Quote, the 10% of Canadian families with the lowest incomes will pay an average of about $637 for public health care insurance in 2026, the report stated, adding that the 10% of families who earn average incomes of $88,572 will pay around $8,644 for public health insurance, while those earning among the top 10% will pay $66,350. That was Average Canadian Family Paying $21,000 for Free System, New Report Says, by Brian Passafiume. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the July 28th issue of the Toronto Sun. Your reader has been Melanie Guralnick. Thank you for listening.